What's the good word, y'all? It's your boy DKB here. So, breaking down our second prospect for the 2024 NFL draft for the offensive tackle position and potential draft targets, or at least just players of interest as a whole that the New York Jets may be interested in. And, we just came off covering Joe Alt a few days ago. I just got a chance to dive into Olumuyiwa Fashanu. Oh, man. I don't know which way you guys fall on the spectrum here between the two players. If it's me, I am trying everything possible to get Olu. I fell in love with this dude's tape, and to me, the most impressive piece is what he's doing at his age, right? So let's go ahead and dive into it. Olumuyiwa Fashanu. We're just gonna stick to saying Olumuyiwa Fashanu from here on out. From Penn State, 6'6", 321 pounds. He's only 21 years old, guys. He's currently 20 from my understanding. He'll be 21 years old for the majority of his rookie season when he comes into the NFL. This was a guy that was supposed to be one of the top picks over a guy like Paris Johnson if he would have came out in the 2023 NFL draft class. But he ended up returning because he wanted to finish his degree where he majors in supply chain and information systems. So obviously the guy has the stuff ticking up here the right way, right? And, it's worth mentioning just because you have one of the more mentally taxing kind of majors, right? You think about guys doing, doctorate programs or people doing any kind of engineering courses, information systems, all that kind of stuff, right? Obviously, you'd automatically assume that these guys are, smarter than the general populace. That doesn't always translate to the football field. But it definitely helps in terms of trying to figure out the ability for somebody to pick up information. Now, one of the things that Joe Douglas is obviously going to love is you have this young guy, his last year, at least pending. I don't think he's officially declared yet, but he was a team captain in 2023. He was a guy that actually got the red shirt his first 2 years without having to worry about taking on a critical role, but he did play his first game starting in a bowl game against Arkansas. So the kid is forged in the fires the right way. But I love the fact that he was able to sit and really kind of develop his craft, because this could easily be a story of a promising athlete that got burned, confidence-wise and all that kind of stuff. Comes from a zone-based scheme that Penn State runs, so perfect fit for the Jets. He does have a basketball background, although I did see or hear anyways that he ended up moving from there to football because he ended up playing a lot more center maybe than he was expecting to. Didn't really love, having to get down in the paint. So it is pretty interesting to see that when he did transition to football, he ends up, playing tackle and being on the offensive line, where you're essentially going to be kind of operating in the same way. But it is what it is. But this guy has a lot of praise surrounding his name already. I mean, I've seen things mentioned such as him being the best tackle since Tristan Wirfs, which is pretty elite. And if you guys remember, he came out into the league and absolutely crushed it right away for the Bucks. Pro comps. Will love both of these names, but one of them definitely hits home. DeBrickashaw Ferguson, the other guy, Joe Thomas, right? I mean, everything about Olumuyiwa Fashanu screams Hall of Fame ability, even if he never progresses in some of his deficient areas to an elite level. So what exactly are we getting out of an Olumuyiwa Fashanu if we can draft him? The reason I'm so hyped on a guy like him is because he is coming in and he's probably already going to be one of the most technically refined and elite pass protectors in the NFL. And if it comes, I can see why people may choose Joe Alt. He has the better floor in terms of being a great pass blocker as well as a great run blocker. Fashanu is an elite pass blocker. He's an okay, maybe average, maybe slightly above average run blocker, right? And you projecting that to the NFL, you assume there will be a tick back or two, at least until he develops a little bit further. But 21 left tackle starts over his 4 years. 0 sacks and 365 pass blocking snaps. I want to say this was 2022. Could be 2023, just flip the years. In the other year, 0 sacks allowed in 281 pass blocking snaps. It's crazy the production he's put up, especially playing a lot of these high caliber opponents. The only blemish on his record was an Ohio State game that he played in. That was the only time he's given up a sack in his career, and I think he let up 5 hurries on that game. Outside of that, everything before, everything post, he cleaned up tremendously. So what makes him so great? Elite length. He has great foot speed in the short area. If he doesn't have to, play opponents, doing, let's say a wide 9 attack scheme like we like to run, for example. Top tier play strength during contact. So a lot of what I've seen so far between Joe Alt and Olu Fashanu, for example, is that they're great in many areas, but these aren't guys that you would say have elite grip strength, right? Guys that if they can just get their hands on you, it's a wrap. It doesn't matter what else happens in the play. Same thing with Fashanu here in that regard, but the man can deliver some much needed force out of his frame. Easily moves defenders off the line of scrimmage. Has one of the most powerful punches in this class so far from what I've seen. Easy contortion skills and flexibility to absorb rushers. One of the issues with Joe Alt was that his anchor isn't necessarily as great. I would say Fashanu has beat in this particular area. Natural leverage, natural knee flexion throughout his reps for a guy. So again, 6'6", you wouldn't expect him to, naturally be able to sink low, stay in his stance. If you want to talk about potentially pass blocking at certain points for 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, he can tend to hold that the entirety of the time, which is great. Tremendous balance during his pass sets. Has an elite ability to maintain his center of gravity, can effectively use arm extensions to kind of lock up rushers. So if you think about when pass rushers are, setting you up, they're kind of navigating through their plan of how they're attacking these tackles, and you get those instances where maybe, they're doing some stutter steps, they're doing some fakes, a couple side steps to kind of set up an inside-out move, or, maybe a push and pull type situation. A lot of guys can get impatient, leaves them out of position. Fashanu isn't falling for all of that. Switches between vertical and angular sets really, really well, and actually you see a lot of instances where Fashanu is actually setting up the pass rusher to think that he may have a easy way, one way, commits to that plan, and then Fashanu shuts it down, one of the quickest reactors to stunts. Again, I'm only covering the 2 prospects, but considering these guys are supposed to be the cream of the crop here, he definitely sets himself apart. At just movement speed, 2 rushers. Patience is going to be the name of the game with Fashanu. He does a great job making sure that he doesn't get beat due to overextending and doing a lot of these kind of things that guys that maybe aren't, naturally confident in their abilities will end up succumbing to. Punishes unbalanced opponents. It's one of the things that I do love. He's patient, but he is ferocious. And I won't even say it's, from a mentality standpoint, it's not like... Who was it wasn't Nebraska or Notre Dame. Maybe it was Nebraska. No, it was the Bisons. There was a guy, can't remember his name, Cody Mock, right? He was probably one of the most violent offensive linemen last year. Fashanu and Joe Alt, they're not in that caliber, but they're up there. Patience. It's rewarded when you watch his footwork, when you watch his hand skills. Again, so far, in my opinion, he's the most technically refined pass rusher I'm seeing in this draft class. I mean, literally from day one, I think he could step out there. And I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't let up, more than 3, 4, sacks in the season, which is, it's a lot. It's saying a lot. But again, the comparisons, the pro comparisons, they aren't there just to be, out there. He can block to the corner. He can handle inside counters very, very well. Timing and quickness during zone runs is solid. He's going to win more often than not when he's on an island. I think that in and of itself says a lot. Great burst in his kick slide, right? I think this is another advantage he has over a guy like Joe Alt. And then he does some of his best run block work when he's looking to, execute a reach block. Again, part of mastering run blocking in the zone based schemes is that you're not really blocking man to man. You're trying to block a certain, area, a portion. You're essentially trying to make sure you can open up lanes, whether that's something, just outright there, if it's a cutback, etc. Now, there are some cons here, a lot more than I would say there is with Joe Alt per se, just because the run blocking isn't quite up to par. You're going to have questions about range and change of direction ability in space. Now, this creeps up a little bit in pass blocking, but I would say a lot of this happens during run blocking as well. When he's working his way up to the second and third level, you don't always see the natural patience and kind of expect, I don't know, commitment to how he wants to attack some of these guys, I guess, as you can say, when he's pass protecting. Grip strength, again, it's not quite there. So he's not just going to stall rushers the moment he gets his paws on them. He can land two-hand extensions a little too high on occasions. So, that'll open up his chest plate and stuff, allowing him to be manipulated a little bit. Can be late to recover effectively on certain occasions. Doesn't always reset his feet while he's picking up stunts. So even though he has a great reaction to him and can kind of help stall some things there, sometimes you'll still be able to catch him slipping out of position. Doesn't sustain pull blocks. I think this is going to be the biggest knock for him. This, can come up in pass protection as well as run blocking. If a play is going to drag on for a certain amount of time, maybe more so than expected, you can kind of see, I would say the mental time clock isn't always processing, but definitely more so in the run game. Power doesn't reflect as often in his run set. So you see it in the pass protections, plays when he's out there. He can go out there and completely stonewall a man. You'd expect that to translate easily and quickly to the run game. But again, I just think the refinement isn't the same level in his run blocking ability as it is in the passing game. Excuse me. He can be a bit robotic as a run blocker, which I think would be a lot of the problem here, right? But more so post snap. So once you see the defensive alignment change, right? Maybe they're showing they're going to rush, the full house, some things change. Certain guys start laying back, and now you got to, make quick decisions on where you're going. That's when things start to become a problem. Can overextend and lose leverage at the second and third levels. And then you'll see him overcompensate at certain times in pass sets when he is looking at a wider alignment, which is also why I'd love to see him, reach the Jets, because that's how we love to play our edge rushers. So, assuming he would stay healthy during the offseason, he'll be able to kind of help expedite, the learning curve there pretty quickly against some very, very talented defenders. And then he was rarely asked to really pull or be used in the screen game, which is something that we love to do pretty commonly here. But I digress. Right now, Fashanu's my guy. If I have a chance, I really do hope a guy like Joe Alt goes sooner, and maybe we see some of those runs on guys like wide receivers, quarterbacks. Hopefully Brock Bowers helps us out a little bit. But I would probably go out on a limb and say that I would find a way to trade up if I'm not absolutely positive he's going to fall to us, and he would be my pick. Right? It is what it is. I'm not selling the farm to get him, but this is a guy that I want badly on this roster, and I think he can change the dynamic of everything essentially on his own. But let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you again. Peace.